what's going to make the most difference in terms of your applications. The second thing is campus visits. I really don't recommend visiting campuses, you know, in junior high and all of that. I think it's just not a good use of their time. I had a young lady that I was working with some years ago. Her dad was a CEO of this firm, of this really large company, and he had everything in control. So the first campus he took her to visit was Princeton when she was in 7th grade. And by the time I started working with her in 9th grade, she had already visited about 20 to 30 campuses. So I'm just like, really, this kid is beating me. She's catching up with me. But by the time she got to junior year, she was completely burned out. And when we started talking about planning campus visits, she did not want to go. She did not want to go, and she refused to go. But in junior year, that's the time the colleges want to see you. It's also the time when it's really going to make a difference as far as what you remember, because you have a context for what that college will mean for you if you were to go there. And so she really missed a few good opportunities. She did agree to go see Michigan because it was close enough, and that's where she is now. So she's a senior at University of Michigan. The third point for junior year, the summer should be around connecting with colleges. And not so much as connecting with colleges in a way you say, oh, I want to go to UC, so I'm going to go to DAP and do that program at UC for the summer. It's not about that. What it's about is really applying to selective junior year programs. There are a number of those summer programs around the country, and the thing that they do is they sell their lists. And so I've had a number of students who will get scholarships and other opportunities as far as being recruited by colleges because they attended a selective summer program in junior year. And so that's how you use that really in an intentional and strategic way to get connected. This is one of my students from Chicago, and she actually she attended a boarding school in the New England area, and for her, I'm trying to think, she did do a number of visits, but one of the things with her is she had applied to an HBCU and several other colleges. She ended up going to Santa Clara, and for Spelman, she got deferred. Now, one of the things that I will say about this is, with her application, she just kind of messed up 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade. So she didn't really start to take it seriously until senior year. And she's telling her mom, no, I'm gonna, really do better now. When you are applying early, it really makes a difference how you perform 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade, especially 11th grade. So like my student I showed you earlier who graduated from Princeton, his 9th grade, it was good, but it wasn't as good as his 10th and 11th grade year. So he could show that trend, that upward trend, and that helped him in applying to schools early. For her, she was downhill the whole time until senior year. It started to bump up. But it wasn't, really enough to help her from a scholarship standpoint. And so she did not get any scholarships. But that's okay because she has a trust fund. Now, for junior year, you want to make sure you visit colleges with your teams, because I actually go on visits sometimes and I see students just kind of wandering on their own. And so one thing I certainly don't recommend is that kids go to college visits with their friends or their sweethearts. That really just messes it up. And so I encourage parents to go with them, and just keeping it small. So not even siblings in some cases. I know for my sons, when I took them on their visits, I would go, most of the visits I would do with them separately, and a few I did with my older two because they were 1 grade apart. But usually my daughter didn't go because I didn't want her to be tainted by their experience. And a number of the schools, just wouldn't have been a fit for her. I wanted her to have her own experience. Does that make sense? Because if you have more than one, they're different,
Yeah.
So a school that my oldest would go visit, it didn't make sense for my younger son, because that just wouldn't be on his list. But definitely visiting with your teens. So senior year, this is the monster one, so you guys are perking up if you have seniors for sure. So, first thing is balancing the course load and the rigor. I see too many teens who try to, just double up on honors and AP classes. It really doesn't make sense in senior year because the fall of senior year is going to be so overwhelming in a way that you really can't prepare for. I mean, some teens feel like, yeah, I can prepare for it because I'm going to do all my college essays in the summer. I've not had a student who did all their essays in the summer and used that same essay when they applied in November. Because if the application is due in November, you really are at a disadvantage sending it in much earlier. I had a student who did that with Tulane because he just wanted to have it over with. And I think too, he's just kind of lazy like that. And so he sent it in like back in September. I'm thinking like, what are you doing? So he sent it in September, wasn't due until November. And sure enough, in October, he's like, Dr. Pamela, can I, contact them to get my application back? Because I want to change something on it. Like, no, you can't. So he ended up getting deferred to regular with that same application. And so they reviewed it on a later cycle because there were a couple of things that were not suspect, but just kind of not as strong, not as competitive. So he got deferred and he did end up getting admitted. And it was a little bit of, it felt like a little bit of a struggle at the time in terms of him officially getting that admission letter, but that's where he is now, because that's where he really wanted to go. Choosing the recommenders wisely is so important for seniors. Oftentimes, seniors, I think this is more for those of you who have juniors right now. Make sure that your teen is nurturing those teacher relationships. The recommendations are really important, and when students are making a decision around who's going to write for them, they want to choose a teacher that knows them well and who writes well. And it's a teacher that's in a core subject area. I mean, one of my students a few years ago wanted to use his band teacher. And it's like, that's great, that you have such a strong relationship with your band teacher, because he was, a really good musician. But a band teacher can write an college application recommendation for you. And so it's really important that in junior year, you are developing those teacher relationships in a way that supports you with getting a strong recommendation, okay? And making sure, again, that it doesn't have to be a teacher that is a,